Good morning. I am back. So, when somebody has a serious mental illness and they're experiencing psychosis, and not everybody who has a serious mental illness is violent, I want to stress that, but sometimes they are. And you can't take it personally. What you need to do, though, is do your best to keep yourself safe if you see it coming. And I'm not in other people's homes, but I know in my house, when I was in this situation, and I ended up being attacked by my son, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I could see, an episode coming on. There are signs, such as, their demeanor. A lot of times they may not bathe, they may not take care of their personal hygiene. They're just suspicious, like maybe they don't want to eat any food that you fixed because they're suspicious of you and they think that you're out to get them. When they're experiencing psychosis, they may be in their mind thinking, I need to get to that person before they get to me. And so you can't even take it personally. You just have to do what you need to do to protect yourself so you don't end up in the situations that the Viners end up being in, the situation I was in, and the situation that a lot of other families have found themselves in all over this country. So, let me see. You could say I lost my train of thought, but I'm back now. So basically, what I would say, people who don't know any better, people who haven't been in these situations, they, from the outside looking on, may say, oh, that person knew what they were doing. Nick Reiner probably killed his parents because he wanted their money. Or this person, why did they attack the children? Why did they attack an adult? Why did they attack the mother instead of the father? They knew what they were doing. They had enough sense to run. They had enough sense to hide. They were smart enough to do this. They were smart enough to do that. That's not even what it's about. When you're experiencing psychosis, do your research before you speak on it, because you can't take it personally. I was attacked, but you know what? I love my son, and I know my son loves me. And we talked a little bit about the incident once he got out of the hospital and was medicated. And I think the bottom line is, something in his head was telling him to do this. He may have thought he needed to protect himself from me. But at this point, I don't even take it personally anymore. I just have to do what I need to do to keep myself safe. So I don't know if you all remember this woman named Andrea Yates. Apparently, it's coming up on the 25th anniversary. I think it's 25 years, either 20 or 25 years of when she murdered her 5 kids. She was, I think she had postpartum depression, and I think she was experiencing psychosis. And so she had 5 kids, and they were really young. And the crazy thing about this, and so I kind of fault her husband, maybe even more so than her. But I think with her other pregnancies, because she had 5 kids, and I think the youngest one was like 6 months old, and the oldest one might have been 7. And she was having these kids back to back to back to back. And even though she was doing this, and she had postpartum depression in the past, postpartum depression is real, and that's what she was experiencing. And I think she drowned all 5 of them, from 5 months old to 6 months old to 7 years old. And those kids, especially the older one who was 7, they were fighting for their lives. And so originally in her first trial, Andrea was convicted of murder, and they sentenced her to life. But that got overturned, and she ended up being convicted, I think, of she took an insanity plea. At first it didn't work, but the second time around she ended up being convicted of something, but instead of being sent to prison, she's in a mental hospital where she'll be for the rest of her life. And I was watching a little bit of something about her on YouTube last night, and she's good where she's at. She doesn't even want. She accepts what she did, and from what I understand, she's doing good things and helping other people since she's been in prison. The guy who represented her in court, her attorney, says he goes to visit the graves of the 5 kids, but she accepts what she's done. And the sad part about it is that people that have psychosis and serious mental illness, they can't get help before the tragedy. And then after the tragedy, you're going to end up, people are going to end up unalived or in prison. And it would be great if this country would stop sending money to other countries for whatever reason to help them. What if we use our taxpayer money to help people in this country? What if we use our taxpayer money to use people with serious mental illness? What if we, instead of spending money building prisons, because there's money to be made on prisons, okay? But what if we, instead of spending money to build prisons, if we built hospitals and spent money training healthcare professionals? What if we spent money on research? It would be so much better if we would get ahead of the problem and try to do something to help people before tragedies like what happened to the Reiners occurred.